We are recording. Hello, my lovelies. I am back after quite a hiatus. Got to throw some shows up, but this may be the first one to come back after a little time off. And I want to welcome you all. I call the show Banter-archy, and you can find it anywhere you can find any podcast. But if you just go to wearelibertarians.com, there's a ton of awesome shows. My show's there, The Big Show, which is really informative. You could rely on them to give you weekly, actually nightly content right now. This is March 27th, correct? Yes. So today I have on Banter-archy my friend and libertarian Scottish extraordinaire, Antony Sammeroff. Hello, Antony. How are you?
Hello, Tricia. I thought you were going to call me libertarian extremist.
Oh, okay.
But I like extraordinary. I do like to think that I am quite extraordinary. But yeah, I'm very touched and glad to be included in this inaugural or re-inaugural edition of Banter-archy.
Yeah.
And when I was a younger man, I had a ginger girlfriend that was still in school. Don't worry, the age difference wasn't that big.
How young were you, and when was she in school?
She was ginger, and and was teased by a boy in school for being ginger, and she basically told him that her boyfriend loves ginger girls, to which he replied that I should be shot. So I'll leave it to your discretion whether I just told her that I really like ginger girls to make her feel less bad about it, or I was honest. But the funny thing is, I wasn't shot. So who's the big guy now, little school kid? Yeah, you said I should be shot, but I wasn't. Survived it. Yeah.
Was that a really gangster experience for you? I might be using terminology and some young people terms that you might not be familiar with, Antony. Being over in Scotland, youth culture is different.
Well, the thing is, people think that in Scotland, like, it's just almost like a third world country where we just walk around the mountains in skirts and we like don't have any modes of transportation. But that's not true. Actually, we have bikes now, so you can go around the mountain on a bicycle.
I know you're lying because I have been to Scotland. Number one, it's a beautiful country, and the people were extremely kind, and they have all the updated technology, and they still have mountains and bikes. So I actually went up to the Highlands. Is probably one of my favorite places in the world. Beautiful.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of very lovely scenery in Scotland, so it is a place to come and visit at some point if you want. We've got two major cities, Edinburgh, although we call it Edinburgh, and Glasgow. Edinburgh, they say, is more beautiful, but Glasgow's where you want to go if you want some crazy nightlife. So if anyone ever
I haven't been to Glasgow. I went to Edinburgh, if I'm saying that right. And actually, if you could tell by my name, Stuart. I have family that came over, and so of course I went to the castle and saw some of my long lineage there, which was really interesting. The city was great, met some really cool people, and then we went up to Inverness. We took a car and drove up there, and that was beautiful.
I love all those places.
Yeah, but didn't get to go to Glasgow. Now I'm upset.
Well, if you want to have a crazy party time next time you're in Scotland, come visit me in Glasgow, and that goes for most people. I don't want to say anyone in the libertarian community.
Have you seen the people that follow me on social media? You may regret that. Actually, most of them are really cool.
Yeah. It only takes one or two assholes to pee in the punch bowl.
Yes. That's very true. And I have told Antony, and actually I've told my children, which I don't get enough street cred for, that the show is marked explicit, so you can say whatever you want. So
you really weren't kidding when you said that it was gangsta.
Yeah, it's fucking gangsta. Can't you tell? I'm in my suburban home in my basement with my anarchy flag.
Yeah, I know.
So
you just better be careful, otherwise someone with a red anarchy flag will come by and shoot you in a drive-by.
well, it's funny, Anthony. Well, we're not even talking about COVID right now, but I'm enjoying this, so I don't really care because it's my show. Um, so my mother-in-law got me this cup for Christmas.
The wrong
But
kind of
actually,
anarchy.
I know a lot of anarchists that don't put a hyphen in front of it and use the traditional anarchy symbol. I actually think who I think is actually pretty right wing, Lou Rockwell uses the red one as well. Um,
That's cool.
yeah,
I've got a
so
t-shirt. I've got a t-shirt with the red one on it as well.
do you?
I was told that it was the wrong kind of anarchy at a libertarian meetup once, but you know, it kind of looks pretty cool. As long as it looks cool, it's all
Yeah,
good.
this is true. Well, optics are everything, aren't they?
Yeah, I just love this idea of the yellow anarchy gang and the red anarchy gang doing dropping hip hop rhymes and shooting each other in drive-bys. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope it doesn't
It's
happen,
kind
but
of
I
like an
just like,
East Coast, West Coast thing, maybe.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't know if
yeah.
you're familiar with rap in the 90s.
I
Probably
know enough.
not.
I know enough about it to get
Okay.
by. Hey, I'm a badass gangster rapper.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I am. The thing is, no one ever says to me, "Hey Anthony, why won't you come rap on my new album? It's my lifelong fantasy to craft an epic work of hip hop poetry, the likes of which the world has never seen and will never see. Will you make it come true for me? Is this something that you can do for me? A tale that's so improbable it resonates ineffably, sending ripples through the galaxy. It chronicles our most proximal obstacles canonically to demonstrate that while they seem insoluble superficially, they're eminently solvable. It's probable will change the course of history. After we deliver all humanity most laudably from fear and doubt into an age of harmony, we'll embark on a trilogy. Check my words for credibility." Just saying.
Is that original?
It is original, yeah.
Did you just freestyle that, or is it you've
I
committed
didn't
it
I
to
didn't
memory?
I committed it to memory. Well,
Okay.
I thought I'd committed it to memory, but judging by the delivery, it was a little bit skippy.
Did you get a lot of good feedback from the youth culture for that?
Um,
It was better than what I could do. It was good, by the way. I'm just asking.
so next question.
Does your cup have cats on it, Anthony? I told you
It
this is not a fancy show.
it just says Costa Rica on it.
Hmm.
It's actually a Starbucks cup. Now you just gave a free plug to Starbucks. They're not even
Ew.
sponsoring this shit,
You
Tricia.
fucking corporatist. I'm really mad at drinking out of my red mug right now.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Do you know what's
Look, it's
funny?
got a frog on it. I know some people will just be listening to this, but that frog does look cool as fuck.
It is a cool as fuck frog. Thank you for your
Cool as fuck
Scottish
frog.
frog, Anthony. Really
Ribbit.
appreciate that. So
So
we're
were
going to
we
talk
not
about
going
the
to talk
elephant in the
about
room
something?
or the elephant on
Um,
Earth.
I saw this great comic book on Facebook, which was like an elephant on a therapist's couch. As some of you know, I'm a therapist. And the elephant's saying, "Even when I stand right in the middle of the room, they still ignore me."
That's a
That's
good
pretty
one.
good. That's pretty good.
I don't know if I snort when I laugh too hard, and I have a ridiculous affection for dad jokes, pun memes, and everything in those that falls into those categories. They just
What
really
other
hit my.
unattractive,
Uh,
what other unattractive habits do you have?
I have a
Do
lot.
you, do you bite your toenails?
Ew! I've never bit my nails either. Like
No.
that's gross. But I snort when I laugh. I like pun memes. Um, I get really excited going to Aldi's. I actually, at one point in my life, was engaged to Aldi International.
Mhm. On
Not that
Facebook?
they'll admit it, but we both,
That's really
both
funny
know what
because
happened.
see here we have like a store called Asda. Like for you guys, it's not really a superstore. Walmart actually bought it up because it's nothing like as big as a Walmart, but by British standards, it was like the big store. And my friends could never understand, well, some of them, why I was like, "Oh, we're going to Asda. 'Tis a glorious cave of wondrous things." I always loved to go to Asda because it was never, in the middle of town or anything like that. It was always like a little bit out where the land was cheaper, so they could get a bigger store. But I just loved looking at all the different shit that they had in the shop that they didn't have anywhere else. I think now that I'm a libertarian, I have been for 10, 12 years, it's like, see, when you're like on the left, you're like, when you go into a big supermarket, you're like, this is so terrible. They're exploiting all these farmers. But see, once you're a libertarian, you're like, wow, all this cool shit came from all over the world just for me, thanks to the International Division of Labor. 'Tis a thing of wonder. Thank you, Adam Smith. By the way,
It's fucking
Adam,
true, though. I mean, who
fucking
doesn't
true.
want a bunch of good shit at your fingertips where you're at? And then, do you like Milton Friedman? I'm going way off. I do
Sure
have
I do.
ADHD. That's another
No,
unattractive
this is
quality.
cool. This is like a really, this is a good
Yeah.
show.
Okay.
I'm uploading
10
this
out of
to
10.
I'm uploading this to Scottish Liberty
Oh,
podcast
fuck.
feed as well. My
Now,
people love this shit.
so are you? I know you came a little bit from the left, and then I came from the far right and was very political.
Boo.
And then, yes,
Boo.
I know. I've seen the error of my ways, and I'm paying for it. Trust me. But I did always enjoy Milton Friedman, the economist, and he does a thing called the pencil. Have you ever seen that?
Yes, I've seen that.
Yes. Well, I think of that every time I'm in a store, like you said, as a libertarian. I just think, how many people were involved in bring this to me for $4.99?
I know. Oh my God. And people are so ungrateful.
Yeah.
But here's my tie into the theme of today's show. Because with the COVID thing, it's like people are used to just going down to the supermarket and getting a pineapple for like, I don't know what it costs where you live, like $1 for a pineapple. They don't actually realize that for most of history, a pineapple was like a luxury item. There was a king, what was the name of the king, who actually, let me see if I can, I've got it right here. Someone nicely put it for me on Facebook.
Is it going to be King George? Because, we know where your loyalties lie.
It was Charles II, but someone thought it was George. It was Charles II actually had a pineapple on his mantelpiece to show how wealthy he was. These things, a pineapple would cost the equivalent of thousands and thousands of dollars today. They used to make these old buildings that had domes on them, like with these squares, like to make them scraggly like a pineapple.
Is that where that comes? There's a lot of Victorian architecture here in the States that have pineapples as a design.
Yeah. It's because pineapple was an incredible luxury once upon a time. And we get all this shit for free. Everyone in the mainstream seems to hate the market and think capitalism sucks, but they don't actually appreciate the wonderful things that they've got. And I think if one silver lining comes from this COVID nonsense, I hope that when things get back to normal and people can go out and enjoy stuff, they really appreciate the things that they weren't able to enjoy during this time.
It's funny you say that. Yesterday, because I'm in lockdown, and I actually ended up getting pretty much laid
enough
off.
about your kinky habits, Tricia.
Okay. All right, then I'll skip to the next story. So we went out for a hike yesterday just to get out of the house. I mean, even just walking outside your home. I do live in like a cul-de-sac, and there's not a lot of beautiful things to look at. Just going out and doing that, there were so many people out, and it was just like there would never be this tremendous amount of families and friends out walking and hiking at this time of day in the middle of the week, had they not realized that's a luxury now to be able to go out and do something. And I do think, it sounds so, you shouldn't see the silver lining in what the government's doing to lock us down. You know what? There are way worse times in history where people wrote some of the most beautiful things and had some of the most beautiful movements, and they were so oppressed. And so we've really not had much oppression, even though I can go on all day about the state. But so we've got a little bit now, that's for sure. And it does make you appreciate the finer things in life, even the simple things.
Well, I've definitely, like a pineapple, I've definitely been enjoying my strolls around the block to keep my body active, because most of my usual activities are cancelled. So you've got to find something to do to keep moving and stuff like that. So I think it's good. I mean, I think it's good to maintain a positive attitude. If you look at people like, what was that guy who he ran for president? He wrote the self-help book, Harry Brown.
Harry Brown.
you know,
Oh, I love Harry Brown.
yeah, he
Yeah.
brought people through with a positive message
I
as
really
well.
loved his message. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, people say that Murray Rothbard was always a very positive guy. So we've got to shine a little light in dark places. No one's going to join your movement if it's like moan, 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 moan.
Hmm.
And hell knows, there's plenty to moan about. I've got a laundry list longer than, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. Choose your metaphor of things that I have to moan about the system. But you can you win more flies with honey than vinegar. Um,
That's
but
very true.
yeah, yeah.
Or lipstick. But
Well, I'm not really sure that it's as flattering on me as it is on you, Trishy, but that's harking back to my goth phase.
oh no, did you wear black lipstick?
Uh, a couple times, but I never really thought it suited me. But I was eyeliner definitely did it. Yeah,
Yeah.
eyeliner helped me pull
I
the
could,
right
I
kind of
could,
girls.
I was a fan of the Trent Reznor Nine Inch Nails
Hmm,
eyeliner. I mean, that was some
hmm,
good stuff. Not that I'm
sure.
old enough to remember it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It
it,
was your older siblings or your cool uncle that
yes, that's it.
that's what it was.
So you're a therapist and you're talking about being positive during these times, and I actually wanted to touch on that. So a lot of people that, especially people that deal with depression, anxiety, maybe even like extroverts like myself, that feel very isolated and disconnected, even though we have this wonderful technology where I'm talking to you in Scotland right now and I live in
Sure.
Ohio. But what can they do to kind of reset themselves and look for the best, be happy in these times? Is there something that they can do? And then also, where can they go to find your videos and books and your help?
Oh, that's really cool of you. Well, Be Yourself and Love It podcast is pretty cool, I think. I'm more known for my libertarian stuff, but that one has a reasonable sized audience. And if you kind of Antony Sammeroff YouTube, I put all the live streams I do on Facebook eventually up on the YouTube channel as well. I've got a bunch of short self-help videos. Um, I definitely recommend Be Yourself and Love It podcast. I really like it. I've listened to other, even though it's my own podcast, like I've listened to other ones,
Just
and
own it. If you don't like yourself, then stop
yeah.
putting out content. If you like
Well, I
yourself,
mean,
then put it out.
it wouldn't be called Be Yourself and Love It podcast, wouldn't would it? It'd have to be called something like Despise Yourself and kind of meekly penetrate the world with your meager content podcast or something.
But that's such a
But
long title.
yeah, I
Yeah.
know it's quite goth though. It might pass with that. Pass for that. Yeah, most people who want to speak to me connect to me on Facebook, and I'm cool with that. I think that's a good way to communicate. I'm not full yet, so you can still add me. Um, I guess asking me what people should do during the coronavirus crisis to stay on the straight and narrow is putting kind of like a lot of responsibility on me. But
Mm.
I just say most of it is not really that profound. Like a lot of people say that if you don't take exercise, you get depressed. Like taking exercise is some kind of antidepressant. It's really the other way around. This body, this system is made to move. And if you lived a couple of hundred years ago, you'd be doing 10 to 20 times as much physical activity as you are doing now. So, not moving your body depresses the system.
Mhm.
The system gets depressed. And that's why, we get sluggish, we can't be bothered doing anything, our brain gets cloudy. It's everything. The I like I work as a therapist, as you mentioned, and I have methods to help people talk through their issues so that they can remove the emotional memory from their system. I well, you don't forget the shit that happened to you, but uh, um, but you can think about stuff that you used to think about that still gave you a hard time, or your system felt depressed without without feeling really crap about it, yeah, and things like that. When you go through, as you go through the process of therapy, if you've got a good therapist, the reason why I say that is the in relation to what we're talking about is I like to see the human being as a biological organism that has needs.
Mhm.
We've got physiological needs, we've got social needs, we've got emotional needs. Physiologically, we've got much the same needs as animals do. You know, we need to eat, drink, pee, poop, not taking
I'm a girl.
poison.
I don't poop.
Oh, right, okay. And when you and it's not and when you fart like little
I
angels,
don't
pink
do that
angels
either. I
with
just kind of
yeah,
hold it in
with
until I
pink
get really angry and passive aggressive.
well that's where the pink angels come in. They they take it out of you in little packets and they fly away
This is true.
like Cupid.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, little fairies, little fart
Yeah.
fairies flying all around
Perfume.
me. I am
So
ridiculous. I
yeah,
apologize. Yes.
especially because you're ginger.
Yeah.
Ginger girls fart perfume.
We do. Yes. That's why
Chanel.
we were considered witches at one time, because
Mm.
everybody pretty much smelled bad up until about the 20th century. And so before that, we were the only ones that smelled good.
All right.
Therefore, we were thought to have some wicked, some kind of witchcraft behind us. This is all very sciencey and very historical. Please go look it
But you, well, all I can say is you've certainly bewitched me.
up. Okay. So turning from me bewitching you, let's go to, well, we'll stick on the COVID, and then I just kind of want to find out how you became a libertarian after that, and we can play a little game. So, like I
Okay,
said, Gingerarchy, we just do conversations here. I like to just talk
that's
to
good. I
people.
like that.
Okay, so from my bewitching self, I thought of these questions for you, Sir Sammeroff. I know you're not
Excellent.
knighted, but I'm going to call you that anyway.
But why shouldn't I be? I am
Oh
the,
no,
I am, they wrote that
you
book
better not
about
get to that queen
Mises.
before she kicks the bucket. I heard she has COVID. Oh, I'm
Right.
sorry. I like dark humor.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Well, but not yours.
Because it's not funny.
No, just because you're a bitch.
Oh, I am. But that's a good thing, I think. It's just a tough exterior. Inside, I'm a teddy bear, and inside the teddy bear is another bitch. All right.
Yeah, somewhere deep down there's a decent human being in me, but it's like really, really, really deep down.
You haven't found it yet, but you're pretty sure it's there.
Hmm.
Okay. So coronavirus, we talk a little bit, and I think you should definitely link. I'll try to put it on there, how to find Antony. And it's definitely really important to seek therapy for anybody, anytime. I'm a big fan of it. And I would also
Oh, well,
say,
I'll tell you what, since we're in the midst of this
yeah,
show, anyone who's listened this far, if it's something that some people have considered, but they're not too sure yet, if you let me know that you heard me on Tricia's show, shoot me a little message. Um, I'll do a free introductory session with you, no commitment, free of charge. You might just get something out of that and then want to go away. I'm very cool with that. Even if you never want to speak to me again afterwards, I enjoy them. Obviously, I can't do like 100 a week, but if a few of you get in touch, I could, especially now with this COVID shit, I can definitely squeeze some freebies in.
I think that's amazing. Oh, hello, lovelies. Did you hear that? So definitely, you can find Antony on Facebook. You could send him a message if you're not friends with him. It
Mhm.
just goes to a different box. And I think that's really awesome of you. Thanks for doing that.
Well,
Um,
I am an awesome guy, Tricia,
deep down inside
deep
somewhere.
down somewhere.
Okay. So something that you've kind of had to exhaust, um, well, your playbook, maybe. Maybe that sounds mean. I don't know. But you talk about it a lot because you know a lot about it. You wrote a book about it, Universal Basic Income. Now, I would not at this time do a show with you about that, except for the fact that we did just pass a bill. Well, it passed in the House and Senate. I think it still needs to be signed, or it's getting signed today, which it will. Um, and what it effectively does, and this is a little bit different than every stimulus that's passed in the United States, it pretty much gives every American making under a certain amount a paycheck, and then it may repeat itself next month if we're still under quarantine. The terms of it are, if you make up to $75,000, you get $1,200. If head of
Wow.
household stops at 112.5, and then married couples 150, and then $500 per child. That's unlimited. And then also, if you're on a fixed income, they call it, or government income, you still get it. So it pretty much goes to everybody unless you make a lot of money. I think you get
Wow.
some after a certain amount.
I
Yeah.
want this check. Can I
Yes.
not get this check? What the
I
fuck?
like to call them Trump bucks. Um, so I have a lot of concerns with that. I'm not necessarily saying don't take it. I think those anarchists I know that say don't take it, I'm like, shut the fuck up. Of course, I'm going to take money that was already
Yeah.
stolen from me.
Well,
Whatever.
well, the
But
thing is, if you don't take it, you've got no advantage over your ideological enemies who do take it.
very good point. Yeah. So even just, I know I do have some anarchists that listen, and then we just have some like newer libertarians, and we're libertarian. So it doesn't sound like a negative thing off the bat. I personally would say take it. I would like to invest mine in silver if my bills aren't too great, and use it for something that's more lasting than fiat. Um, but what would you say would be the negative effects eventually from taking a $3 trillion uh, amount of
Well,
money from the government that we're borrowing, 3 trillion, 3 trillion,
yeah. Well, I mean,
and dispersing it mostly to corporations, but to each American, basically? What happens after we do that?
well, I'm kind of I prefer that they give it to regular people than to bail out Boeing or whatever, but that's really neither here nor there, because inevitably it's going to be both, right? Did the Fed not spend $1 trillion buying up bad debts and make
Yes.
another trillion of something on top of that? So the question, well, first of all, the obvious point is, despite the dollar going to the moon for now, this is going to have a massive deflationary effect on the value of the dollar in the long term, on the purchasing power of the dollar. And it's actually good for very wealthy people who everything they've got is in assets, especially, property and what have factories, machines, etc., and what have you, as they won't be subject to the negative effects of price inflation. But anyone that's saved is obviously going to be at disadvantage when they are actually the ones that did the responsible things. And anyone who's in debt, in other words, being irresponsible, the more irresponsible you've been, the more in debt you are, the more you benefit from the inflation. But the question is, fundamentally, where is the money going to come from? Sorry to sound like a 1980s Thatcherite conservative.
No,
Where's the money going to come from?
no, but please explain that to people, because I don't think a lot of people have a basic understanding, and I don't always blame them. People have to go to
Hmm.
work and live their life. They can't worry about the government devaluing currency. So how does it work? Basically, how does my dollar become worth less?
Oh, right, okay.
Mhm.
Well, the dollar enters the economy via the Fed, and when it does so, the politically well connected tend to get it, uh, and at that point, it's at its highest value. But the dollar's value is basically linked to the number of goods and services in the economy, and as the politically well connected spend it, uh, put it this put it this way: if it, the dollar, we've all heard of the law of supply and demand. I didn't know that. I didn't know that I was going to be asked to explain this economic question. Um, so
Sorry.
so uh, the explanations in my book, Be Your Book, Universal Basic Income, For and Against. Please buy now on Amazon. That's the cliffhanger. Well, basically, as if you think of dollars as like a commodity, like anything else, we know that when the supply of a commodity goes up, if the demand stays the same, it becomes worth less. So if there's suddenly a ton of, I don't know, pianos coming onto the market, then suddenly everyone goes, well, I can get a piano much cheaper than that one that's up there on Craigslist because there's so many of them. Um, Similarly, with the dollar, there's more dollars around, more people are spending them. The value of the dollars become worth less unless the same amount of stuff is made to balance that out. No extra stuff is made when they print money. No
And when
extra
you
stuff is
and
made
when you
at all.
shut the economy down and 30% of
Exactly.
Americans are out of work, it's much less than would normally
Yes.
happen in the flux.
So I don't even know if the dollar is going to make it another couple of years. I don't know if it's going to be some very intelligent people think it's not going to be hyperinflation or anything like that. I really don't know. I'm not I know quite a bit of economic theory, but I'm not like Mr. Predictions man or anything like that. I think the thing is, a lot of people talk about as in, well, this is just sort of a paper exercise. We're going to put this much money, we're going to pump this much money into the economy, we're going to borrow it, or we're going to print it. But someone, somewhere, in fact, a bunch of people are going to actually be admitting far lower standards of living, whether they need to move to a lower house or their business, their family business goes out of business, or they're not able to send their kids to the activities that they're used to sending their kids to. And yeah, I guess inflation is going to spread it around a bit so that everyone's slightly taking the hit, but it's not necessarily going to harm those who are the richest or most politically correct connected, which is what the left always want. Tax those greedy millionaires and billionaires. That's what we want. It's not necessarily going to be them, and who are suffering because of they're not going to be paying their way out of this crisis.
The very
They're not
wealthy
going to be
can withstand inflation and crisis.
To a large degree, because as the price of everything goes up, so does the price of their assets go up with everything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a difficult question though, I think, in this time.
Well, actually, I think you explained it really well in a pretty simple way. Just basically, dollars aren't magic money, so there has to be some value, and that's how you exchange it. And so if we keep printing more of this magic money, somebody's going to have to produce some value for it somewhere, and somebody's going to lose out on it, and it's going to be the poor people that lose the most. Inflation is the highest tax on poor people. It's the worst tax that you could have if you're poor.
I totally need to get you as a translator for the kids version of Scottish Liberty podcast, right?
Do I sound like a kid?
You explained that at a level that someone in school could understand. So whenever we do Scottish Liberty podcast, we need to also, hey kids, it's time for Scottish Liberty podcast with your host, Tricia Stuart Mann. And then you go, then you just explain everything I just said that way. Yeah, that'd be great.
I like speaking in simple terms. And I always, although I really enjoy listening to the talking heads, and I learn a lot from them. And you obviously have a better way with words than I do, but I find that simplifying things sometimes is just better than speaking a lot. And so since I'm not good at speaking a lot, especially a written word, then I'll just simplify.
For me personally, the most difficult thing about writing is writing simply. Most of the editing process revolves finding simpler and simpler ways to say what I've already said. So if you can explain things simply, that's a real talent.
Well, I think it's hard, especially if you sit down and write a book, and you know this. I don't think people don't understand. If you're a writer and you're publishing or self-publishing or whatever, like to produce a book, that's a lot of work. And so I think, I think a lot of people have this idea that you're just on a typewriter from some movie in the 80s and all of a sudden pops out this book and you make money. But editing is really difficult. I think if you're brilliant, when you have to cut things out, you feel like people aren't going to get the whole of what you want to say. But if you make a book like that, then, I mean, War and Peace is a great book, but how many people can say they've read it cover to cover? The masses need libertarianism too. So
universal basic income for and against, the War and Peace of libertarianism. Just kidding. It's a really, really thin, it's a very short book.
It is very readable. And again, you can go to Amazon and find his Antony's UBI book. Or I say UBI a lot because it's lingo, sorry. Universal Basic Income, which actually has become popularized even more so through the election cycle with Yang, even though he dropped out. So of course, Trump just one-upped him with $1,200 instead of $1,000. So,
whoa! If you do want your copy signed, then message me on Facebook, and that can be arranged for you. I've been sending them out recently.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so I don't do these too long because I usually try to do them for the drive time. So we're gonna play a game, Antony, and I'm gonna have you on again.
I love games.
All right.
Because I'm super fun to talk to.
Yes, you are.
I like to think so.
This is pick your poison. I'm sure you've played Cards Against Humanity or whatever.
Pick your poison.
Mm-hmm. So you have the option of choosing between two different tasks or actions that you need to perform.
Oh my God.
I will randomly pull them from the deck.
Not this again, Tricia. Last time you
up.
blackmailed me with a Skype video. I will never look at that ironing board the same ever again.
This doesn't exist, people. And don't message me for it. Look what you did. All the incels are going to message me again. I finally slowed the rate of dick pics down.
I can still hear those chains clanking in my ears.
All right. Antony Sammeroff, Scottish libertarian extraordinaire. You have to choose.
Can I put that on my business card?
You can. It's official. I said it, so it's real.
Let's do it.
Okay. So, do you pick your poison? Do you air dry after every shower or be unable to feel empathy?
So what's air dry? Sorry.
You don't get to use any type of towel, linen, or cloth.
Well, do you know what? There's relative merits to both. I think if I didn't have any empathy, then I wouldn't feel the excessive amounts of empathy I feel maybe for some people who don't really deserve it. In fact, I think an excess of empathy probably led me to my profession because it's quite useful being empathetic. But I'd find a new profession. So I could see an advantage to that, even though it comes at a disadvantage as well. The kind of like not being able to dry yourself after a shower, I do quite like to grab the towel quite quickly, but maybe it's going to toughen me up. So I'm going to be the first person to pick both poisons. I will no longer...
So one is the poison, the other is the cure.
Yes, they're both good for me. And if I don't have any empathy, I might not even empathize with myself being cold when I come out of the shower. So
you'll just be numb inside.
Yeah.
I can say I've played this with a lot of people, and you're the first person to pick both poisons and look at one as a positive. So,
I just like to live dangerously, Tricia. That's
sure
all it is.
Do.
You know, I'm
running
so
around in the woods in the Scottish Highlands with axes and skirts. All right. You have to pick another one.
What's this? I never agreed to do 2 games.
It doesn't matter.
1 game a day is my limit.
This is this is an implied contract.
Oh, is it implicit? I thought this show was going to be explicit. That's what you told me before.
Yes, I mean as far as saying the fucks and the shits, Anthony. Okay.
Let's rock. What's this game?
Pick your poison. You either
the same.
Yes.
I thought you were gonna. There was a
no different cards. No different cards.
Okay.
I like to
pick
talk.
My poison.
Tasks are for the plebes. No, I'm just kidding. All right. You either get a tattoo of a 6-pack of beer on your abdomen, or ride a skateboard down a mountain road.
Well, me driving a skateboard down a mountain road means I die, I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to have to make the sacrifice. And if anyone's like, hey, Ant, like, why the fuck have you got that tattoo there? It's like, well, I picked my poison.
That was a good answer, Anthony. All right. We're going to do one more, and then we're going to do some little shout outs and wrap up.
Okay.
But I'm still making you pick your poison now.
Pick my poison, Tricia.
Oh, God. Of course this gets picked for you. Right. Antony, pick your poison. Would you rather always be sweaty or have your clothes start to disappear after 1 hour of wearing them? This is a tough one.
That would be extremely inconvenient. That would be extremely inconvenient. But the thing is, I smell like a meadow. So even if I sweat...
Do you have some ginger blood in you? Is that why?
Do you know, this is a joke that only works when the gender roles are reversed.
Oh, okay. What are male gingers evil?
Well, males can go, do you have some ginger in you? And if she says no, he can go,
here we go.
Would you like some?
Ba-da-bum. Okay. And on that, folks, I'm going to give you a shout out where people can find you. You've got some books out. What are you working on right now first?
I'm working on a book on healthcare reform that's taking forever, but when it comes out, it's going to be amazing,
Oh, very cool.
I think. Um, but yeah, you just hold on for that. I'll be doing the libertarian rounds again, I'm sure, when it's complete. So my name's spelled without an H, Antony, Sammeroff. You should add me on Facebook. I like hearing from you guys. And yeah, I just reiterate there is a free therapy session. Um, and also, you should buy a copy of Universal Basic Income for and Against. It's a really, really good book, and it's a great introduction for leftists into libertarian approaches for for improving those living standards of those at the bottom of the economic ladder. I really believe that if we're to get anywhere as libertarians, we need to talk about the stuff that people care about. And right now, that's stuff like poverty, right? Universal Basic Income for and Against isn't just about UBI. It covers a lot of stuff. It's a really great introduction to thinking economically, and I know that you'll get a lot out of it. So message me on Facebook and request your signed copy if you prefer us. Otherwise, you can just go on Amazon and buy one. Thanks so much for having me on Banter-archy.
Aw, thank you, Antony. And
You
again, that's
are the king of
Antony.
gingers.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
I am. Thank you. I have my
Antony.
anarchy halo around my ginger hair today. So,
That's it. Your
yeah.
halo is held up only by your horns.
Yeah. That's a good Dolly Parton tune, but I
You
digress.
definitely
Um,
make me horny. So,
well, you heard it here
just
first, folks.
kidding.
Yes. So, as again, I would like to thank everybody watching. This is going to go live on Facebook. I'm hoping that Antony can join us so he can kind of comment on your posts. But you can find Banter-archy on iTunes, Spotify, but just go to wearelibertarians.com, find some other great shows there. Look for Antony Sammeroff on Facebook. And his Scottish wit extraordinaire. And
Extremely.
friend him. People can follow you if you're out of friend space as well, right?
Yeah, if you're on your iTunes just now, you can also subscribe to Scottish Liberty Podcast and Be Yourself and Love It podcast. They're good shows. They both feature me. How
I
could they
do.
not
I
be?
do like Be Yourself and Love It too, and it's very it's easy to follow, and there you do like quick little shorts too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of them are like 10, 15 minutes.
yeah. Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Antony. And I'm going to end the show like I always do. I want to say thank you so much, my lovelies, for watching, and fuck the state.
Fuck the state.
And we're going to stop here.